Shalom Akim, this is Ariella. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Once again, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to Yakim out there kicking the word in sincerity and truth. And I just wanted to kind of highlight this interview that Dave from the X22 Report had on his Spotlight channel with Bill Holter. Towards the end of this interview, Bill Holter just starts to go in on what he feels like is going to culminate basically during the fall and winter time and leading into 2017. And what he's saying is a lot of stuff that he's saying comes from the scriptures, comes out of the scriptures. And we see all the pieces of the puzzle coming together for this, man. You know, as all these markets start to crumble globally, as tensions begins to rise between so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, and a so-called white man, and really all the other nations, you know, as World War III is being prepared, all these things are going to happen, man. And it's all mentioned in the scripture. So, you know, I'm gonna play a part of this interview, and then I'll highlight some of the things that he's saying with scripture just to bring it on home. So, Lord willing, this is edifying for you, Akim. As always, if you have scriptures, please put them in the comment board. If you have points, please put them in the comment board. Even you scoffers too, man. Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom.
Yeah. So to answer your question, no, I don't think there's. I suspect that there's better than a 50-50 chance that we don't even have an election, and I do believe that you're going to see financial markets collapse prior to the elections, the U.S. elections.
And what will stop the elections? I mean, is the president going to say, okay, the economy's collapsing, we just need to postpone the elections right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, how could you have an election under martial law?
Oh.
If we're under martial law, how do you have an election? If you've got riots in the streets, how do you have an election?
You can't.
I mean, that's where this ultimately goes. This is a credit bubble it's collapsing. And when it does completely collapse and credit freezes up, and I've said this multiple times, distribution is going to break down. And when distribution breaks down, even if you have $100 bills in your pocket, Walmart's not going to have any goods to sell you.
2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So just like Bill is saying, according to the scripture, people are getting ready to fight up against each other. Not only are you going to have nations coming against each other as far as just whole groups and bodies of actual sovereign nation fighting another sovereign nation, like Russia versus the U.S., you're going to have peoples within the individual nations fighting against each other, man. All right? Because verse 16 says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their king nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, because martial law is going to be set off after economic upheaval, man. And this is what this guy Bill is going into. Like, all hell is going to break loose if the economy crashes. Okay? For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, because people are just living deliciously. They're not paying attention to natural economics. They're not taking care of the environment. People are living like goddamn Neanderthals out here. Because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. These times are being prepared all around the West and for America. Okay, we're going to see more and more and more of this stuff build up. Right now, they're pushing the Black Lives Matter, but that's just the beginning of a greater collapse and a greater tumult that's going to happen in America and around the world. More proof of this is in the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter. This is Matthew chapter 24, and the 7th verse says, for a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Now we're seeing some of those famines start around the world. Everybody's got their eye on Venezuela, But you know, if you listen to a lot of these guys, they're telling you that this is a prelude to what's going to come and happen to America. Okay, so it says, "For nation shall rise against nation." Now, when you get the Strong's Concordance, it goes in further on this word ethnos, but I just want to make a point real quick that when you look this word up, ethnos, for nations, a multitude, whether men or beasts, associated or living together, a company, troop, swarm, a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus. Okay? The human family, a tribe, nation, people, group. Okay? And I just wanted to get that point because you're going to have people within the nation of the United States fighting one another because of the great tribulation that's here, man. Okay? People are going to be killing one another out here. All right?
And you'll see the EBT food stamp cards will cease. There wouldn't be goods anyway, but you're going to have a very hungry and very angry population.
So people should be looking at Venezuela right now and taking note about what they're experiencing right now, where people are lining up to get food, people are fighting over beef. You're saying the same thing's going to happen here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the roadmap. Just look at what is happening there. Listen to accounts of what people wish they had, what wish they had stocked up on, and that's what you need to be doing. I mean, you're talking about even if you have money, yeah, you can get a hamburger, but it's $170 for a hamburger. Dollars. I'm not talking about in Venezuelan bolivars or whatever. In U.S. dollars, a hamburger is $170. So the goods are just not available to be had. And that's where we're headed because, like I said, everything runs on credit, and without credit, distribution doesn't happen. And goods don't make it to Walmart shelves. They don't make it to Main Street.
So you're saying right now that you don't think we're going to make it into this fall. You think the economy is going to crash during this time period?
Well, I think the financial markets are going to crash, and that will finish off what's going on in the economy. I mean, the economy's weak. Like you were talking about trucking and the Baltic Dry Index numbers, etc. Those are showing you that the economy is definitely soft and weakening all around the world. But a collapsing and collapsed financial market will bring global trade, the global economy, to a standstill.
I just wanted to get into a little bit about war, and I know this is not your expertise, but I just wanted to ask you, since we're heading in this direction of the economy's crashing, no election, you still see war headed in our direction?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the U.S. is running around the world poking a stick in everybody's eyes. So, and I've also said before that war would be certainly a logical thing to occur to point at as well. Our policies would have worked if it wasn't for the war. And just look at history. If you look at history for the last 2,000 years, when trade goes bad, or when one nation defaults on another nation, they start wars. And it's the belief in Washington that war is good for the economy.
Joel chapter 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause my mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. World War III is being prepared right before our faces, man. While the elect are being raised up, in the midst of the elect being raised up, the Most High has an algorithm for World War III playing out. All right. And so now we're seeing these troop movements. NATO's preparing their side, and then Russia and its allies preparing its side, because a global fight is about to go down for control of the Levant region and basically over the new economy that's set to emerge. Okay? And because the Most High, that's what he wants. But out of the ashes of that destruction will rise the true nation of Israel, man. The true government. Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger. For all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. And that's what's going to happen, man. Even beyond thermonuclear destruction, sent out, the angels, the holy angels, going to come back, and they're going to be putting holy fire on this place also, man. So great destruction is getting ready to happen to the planet Earth, and it's not going to be a bode well for the heathen. Okay?
It used to be that war is good for the economy. It's no longer, that's no longer the case, because what's going to happen is the U.S. no longer manufactures anything. So if we went to war over the South Sea Islands with China, or we went to war with Russia, and assuming that nuclear weapons were not used, the U.S. is going to be isolated. Our imports are just going to stop. The world won't take dollars from the U.S., and we don't have the ability to manufacture the goods that we use every day. So this time around, in my opinion, war is going to be a disaster for the U.S. financially.
So what we're talking about here is an economic collapse, no elections, martial law, and war, all happening, coming up very soon. Let me ask you this. What does America look like? Like, what type of economy are we going to have after all of this? I mean, we'll no longer, I assume, be the reserve dollar of the world. So what type of lifestyle are Americans going to have?
Well, obviously, our standard of living is going to drop. And in the worst case scenario, go watch the movie Mad Max. I mean, that's certainly a potential. If the credit system does seize up, then you might as well watch the Mad Max movie, because that's where we're headed. Barter, I'll give you this for that.
So going after that point, you don't think we'll ever get back to the way our lives are today?
To answer that question, in your and my lifetime in the United States, I think the answer is clearly no. There's no way to go back to the 1950s, where we were the manufacturing base of the world. There will be no way in our lifetime during the last 50 plus years where we're the financial center of the world. That's not going to happen. Now, could it happen in 50 years or 100 years? Can the U.S. rebuild? Yes, certainly. And there will be a new system that arises, and that system will grow and build on itself, but it's going to be very different from the way we grew up. We grew up, whereas the U.S. was pretty much the leader. We were the leader of the world. We led the world in so many different areas. We're being leapfrogged, and we got fat, we got lazy, we took on too much debt. We didn't work hard. We're not manufacturing. We're not doing any of the things that made this country great to begin with.
Zechariah 8:10. For before these days there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men against every one against his neighbor.
And speaking of, that brought to mind, Trump would make America great again. Think about the amount of people in the U.S. that don't work, that live on food stamps, that live on welfare, you're talking about over 50% of the population now takes. And just go back 50 years in the 1960s. Welfare, unemployment, things like that, those were supposed to be stopgap measures. They were supposed to help the person out who was down on their luck until they could stand on their own 2 feet, go back to work, or whatever. Now, food stamps, welfare, entitlements has become a way of life. There are families that where the kids grow up learning how to game the system. It's over. It's over in so many different ways. It's over morally, socially, financially, economically. It's over.
Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter and the 6th verse says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay." This is one of my favorite scriptures because it definitely highlights what's going on in and around the world with these financial groups controlling the economy. When you look up this word thick clay, it means weight of pledges, heavy debts. All right, heavy pledges. Basically, you promise to pay someone in the future, or you promise to do something for somebody in the future. One of the best examples that we have of that today is what's called a derivative. Okay, I'm gonna let this thing explain what a derivative is. It ain't gonna make sense to a lot of people. You gotta kind of go and read about it.
A derivative is a contract between two or more parties that is based on or derived from an agreed upon asset. The parties included in the derivative decide what the asset will be. Common assets are stocks, bonds, currencies, interest rates, and commodities. Originally, derivatives were used to ensure a balanced exchange rate for goods traded internationally. For example, a U.S. company sends a shipment of goods to the U.K. The U.S. company would create a derivative with an investor that guarantees the exchange rate is equitable to all parties. If the exchange rate dips and the investor in the derivative speculated that the exchange rate will remain stable or in favor of the U.S. company, the investor would lose money. However, the U.S. company would still be paid the value of their goods. If the exchange rate rose, the investor would make a profit from the speculation, and the U.S. company would be paid the value of their goods. Today,
so basically, it's a gamble. You gambling on you putting a bet on a stock, or a bet on a bond, or a bet on a certain company, to say, okay, it's going to do better, or in the future. It's a future gamble bet that you can place out there, and all these monies are owed in all types of ways all across the world. All right, all this debt is owed all across the world in all different types of ways. It's such a fucking big web of BS. It's almost impossible to trace it.
Corporations use derivatives to gain favorable interest rates on loans to better manage corporate debt. This gives corporations more borrowing power for growth and investment. However,
so the company can basically get people to invest in their company by giving out derivative contracts, saying, okay, well, down the line we'll pay you on everything that you're putting in plus this in 10 years, whatever, 2 years.
Derivatives are not without risk. Huge losses can occur with even a small change in the price of the asset the derivative is based upon. Although usually based on a monetary asset, derivatives can also be based on any product agreed upon by the...
So if you got all these futures out there and the currency of that derivative drops dramatically, or the worth of that company drops, or the worth of that bond drops, everything that you invested in for the future is destroyed, okay? You'll go bankrupt.
Two parties. Derivatives today are based on a wide range of transactions, from wheat prices and gold to even the weather.
Okay, so it says a derivative is a contract between two or more parties whose value is based on a agreed upon underlying financial asset, And this is, of course, as you can brothers can see, Investopedia. Agreed upon underlying financial asset, index, or security. Common underlying instruments include bonds, commodities, currencies, interest rates, market indices, and stocks. Okay? For more on that, you brothers can just type in what is a derivative and look it up. Currently, they're saying that the global derivative bubble is over 1.5 quadrillion. Quadrillion. That is a ridiculous amount. Okay? So let's read this. This is in globalresearch.ca, and it's under the global derivatives. When investing becomes gambling, bad endings follow. The next credit crunch can make 2008-2009 look mild in comparison. Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, data shows around 700 trillion in global derivatives. Along with credit default swaps and other exotic instruments, the total notional derivatives value is about 1.5 quadrillion, about 20% more than in 2008. Beyond what anyone can conceive, let alone control if unexpected turmoil strikes. The late Bob Chapman predicted it, so does Paul Craig Roberts. It would destroy Western civilization, he believes. Financial deregulation turned Wall Street into a casino with no rules except unrestrained money making. Catastrophic failure awaits. It is just a matter of time. And basically, when they're talking about this global casino, they're talking about this big derivatives bubble. All these huge amounts of debts that are owed in between different corporation companies, huge banks that basically govern the world and supply different countries with their money. They're basically, if you look at their books, they cook it to hide the fact that they're way over in the Department of Credit. You know, they really should have no credit. They really should be bankrupt, so to speak. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 18 verse 7. It says, how much she have glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow. I shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord power who judges her. Talking about Babylon the Great. Talking about America, man. And all the West that's with America. This whole beast system is going to collapse upon itself, man. And Bill is telling us about it. Verse 8, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her. We talked about a little bit of that with the derivatives contracts that they've made and all the other geopolitical contracts that they've signed with America, NATO, and the EU, and that whole system. The scripture says, they shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Okay? And that's going to culminate in the World War III that we was talking about, okay? So I just wanted to read these scriptures and kind of put it together with this, I guess you can call it a sit down that the X-22 report had here. But you can see all these things happen. It's all biblical prophecy, and it's all coming together because Yahweh Shem Yahushua wants it to come together, okay? So with that, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation to you, Akim, out there, pushing the word around the globe in sincerity and in truth. Shalom.